Hey guys, we're finally back. It's been too long between the holidays and snow days. We had a little longer break than we planned, but we're so excited for the episode we have for you today. You're going to get to meet our cousin Amy, who is just the knower of all things skincare. She's our favorite esthetician. She is beautiful inside and out. She started in the insurance business with her husband, and together they have started multiple businesses now. But you get to hear how she went from rocking the insurance business world to now just living out her passion and her dream job, all while being a mom and a wife and so much more. She has a great story, and I'm so excited for you to get to know her. Here's part one with Amy Lewis.
Sponsored by White House Foods, serving generations of consumers since 1908.
Oh, yeah. So we have Amy here, and she's our cousin. So thankfully, she said yes to come here. But Brittany is much better at having a skincare routine. Me, I'm very illiterate, as Amy knows, and praise upon me, I think, probably.
You used moisturizer this morning.
I used it last night.
See? I heard you step it up.
I knew you were weird. I was like, I gotta make sure my skin looks somewhat healthy.
What did you tell me you used the other night as moisture?
No. She was like, did you know that you're supposed to wash your face with cleanser after you use a makeup wipe? And I was like, yeah. She goes, no, wait, though. But did you know that you were supposed to wash your face once and then you wash it again?
Oh my God.
And I was like, double cleansing?
There's a term for that.
Well, I know. And Amy replied to my story, and she was like, think of it as sweeping before you mop. And I was like, okay, that's good. I was like, but I never, that's my least favorite part about washing my face, because the water runs. I know the little scrunchies.
I've got the
I
thing
have
for
the
you.
scrunchies.
Do you have those? Okay, that's such a game changer.
Yeah, I had one brand, and they stayed wet. I could not, they wouldn't dry. But then I got another brand, and they're
You need to get a couple pair, and then you alternate them throughout the night.
And you have to throw them in the wash because they
okay, gross.
smell.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But today I had a scrunchie on, and I was like, what is that smell? And it was a scrunchie that I would put my hair up in a bun after a shower. And then I would do that every night. And it was when we were at the beach or something. And I was like, oh, because normally I don't do them the same one every night, but it would smell so bad. It was really bad. So, yeah.
I used to think that was so extra, when people had those on, and I was like, okay, watching videos and stuff. And then now after using them when I don't have them, I'm so annoyed when it rolls down my arm. I can't stand it.
I hate it. So yeah, that's my least favorite part. And you're talking to a girl who in high school, if I had a pimple, I would pop it and then put toothpaste on it.
I was scared. Please tell me you didn't put toothpaste on.
No. Yes, 100% I did. So anyways,
Well,
Amy,
really quick, it's funny though, because I feel like we've always been like this. But it's also because Aubrey never had bad skin, and I literally was the second grader with pimples on my face.
Oh,
it was not in second grade.
I do. Go check it. Ask mom. I'm wearing a white sweatshirt, a red bow in my hair, and
she's got receipts.
I've got receipts.
It's childhood trauma.
Oh my God.
But no, for real. So I feel but I would always have this crazy skincare routine, but up until recently, oh God, yeah. Proactive would go to the little machine.
I was gonna say we're at the mall.
Yeah.
Jessica Simpson was on it. It had to work.
Right.
Yeah. But I wasn't always using the right things. I'd go to Target and buy a bunch of stuff, or see on Instagram oh, these are the ones. Yeah. So yeah.
You're not alone. That's half of my acne clients. That's how we start. Well, I tried this because this influencer said this, or I tried this because someone had also told me I needed that. And it's unfortunate because no one's really getting the information that they need because they don't know. So they're following what other people say.
Do you feel awkward when people are looking at you? Because when you're talking, I'm just staring at them.
It's full. I'm
oh, I don't know about all that.
And I'm I hope you don't think
no.
I'm I won't look at you. But it is, your skin's so
well, it takes a lot of skincare steps.
Yeah.
I won't lie. I mean, it's 11 or 12. It's kind of stupid, but I love it though. I love how my skin feels afterwards, and I see what it's done for my skin from where I started as well. But people they'll say something like that sometimes. They're well, you don't need Botox. Your skin's flawless. I'm it's because I get Botox. It's but it's a lot that it's a maintenance thing that goes into it, and you have to kind of commit. But I do have that. And I find the same with myself. If I'm talking to someone, I noticed, like, for example, when I used to go to the orthodontist, they would look at your teeth the whole time you're talking, and it made me so self-conscious because my teeth were, like, jacked. And so then once, like, you know, you get into, like, a different industry, say, like, you're in skincare, like, you're looking and being like, I could fix that, and I could take care of that sunspot for her. Like, not that I'm, like, judging or picking them apart. I want to help them, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like you don't want to say things that you shouldn't say, like, if it doesn't bother them. So I've had to kind of learn, like, reel it in, Amy. Don't ask a stranger if you can pop their pimple. Like, you know, but yeah, I do get that. You know, sometimes where I want my skin to look like yours. And I'm like, I love that. And it makes me feel really good because I never was that person with that kind of confidence that felt like, oh, yeah, you know, I'm just out here, you know.
Yeah.
That people were like, I was always the one being intimidated, you know. So when people say, well, it can be intimidating coming into a place when everyone's skin looks great. And I'm like, we've all had, you know,
your own thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's probably why a lot of you all love doing what you do too, because
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, one of our newest estheticians, she was one of my clients before, and she was a nurse. Like, she had just finished, like, nursing school and had her first job, and she had, you know, issues with acne, and she would come and we would talk and, you know, do her treatments, and she was just like, you know, how did you get into this? And so then I would tell her, and I was like, you know, it's never too late in life to, like, and she's young, she's like 20 some, but to, you know, pursue what you want to do and what you love. And she said, you know what, I think I want to go back to esthetician school. And, like, I don't know, a few months later, I saw her, like, she tagged me on Instagram that, you know, I was, like, the motivator and gave her that inspiration. And she went back to aesthetic school, and now she works for us. Like, and so, and now she can work and help all these people who, you know, have acne, and she understands it. Like, she still, you know, will struggle with it. But her skin looks amazing, you know, because she's learned kind of what to do. And I think that makes a big difference when you can be on that same level with someone and say, I get it. Like, I've dealt with it too, you know, and it's not a one size fits all regimen for everyone.
Yeah. So kind of piggybacking off of that, you bought Merle Norman, which then kind of jumped into Glow Aesthetics.
Yep.
What age were you when that happened, and was that always the dream? Was that always, like, a goal that you were going to kind of do that kind of thing? Or
so not the med spa part of things, that kind of came later. So when I was growing up, you know, I always loved makeup. I loved doing hair. Like, friends would come over and I would do their hair and makeup. I mean, I
remember us.
Yes.
We loved when Steph was at your mom's house because we'd go back to your room and you'd sit us at
I have pictures of you guys. Like, we did makeup after,
and our hair, and
Yeah. I loved it. Like, that's just something I've always loved. And, you know, when friends would get married, they'd be like, will you do our makeup for our wedding? And I'm like, yeah, I would love to. And so it just was a thing, like, Amy, do my makeup type thing. And so when I was in high school, one of my closest friends, we've been friends forever, she introduced me to Merle Norman. So I think it was my first time getting an eyebrow wax. And she was like, yeah, it might be time. You know, she said it very nicely. And, like, you know, I'm, like, sitting here, I'm like, I don't know what to do with these. So we went to Merle Norman, and that was, like, my first time at Merle Norman. And after that, I started, like, liking their makeup. And you know, it was, for me at the time, like, it was expensive. You know, I was a teenager and stuff, but I would get, like, the main things. And every time I go and, like, get something, like, at the drugstore, I'm like, it doesn't look right or it doesn't feel as good. And so I always would say, like, one day I'm going to own that place. And let's see here, how old am I now? 43. So I was 39. I had gone into the Merle Norman studio, and the owner at the time, Jessica, she had mentioned, like, just things hadn't been great. She had been dealing with a lot of things with her grandmother, who was, like, very ill. And I just noticed there wasn't a lot of inventory on the shelves. And I'm like, you know, are you guys staying in business? Like, you know, but I didn't know her on that level to ask that question, right? So I was like, you know, I'm just going to reach out to Merle Norman and just ask, is there anything that, like, or any studios, you know, make it kind of vague, that are out there, like, that they're considering selling or anything like that. And they said, well, we always will reach out to your local studio and ask them. So they did, and they called me back, and they don't say who you are or anything like that. And they called me back and said, she is interested. And there's hair and nails that all are a part of it. Explained to her, you know, what my feelings were. I was like, I know nothing about hair. I know nothing about nails. Like, and she said, you know, she explained the whole setup, how basically everybody booth rents, and it's just a way to bring in, you know, clients that maybe weren't normally coming in the door. And, you know, these girls are her family. She says, like, you know what, I, like, really respect that, you know, that it's hard when you see, like, you go into a lot of salons and you hear the cattiness that goes on. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want to be in a hair salon,
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that. Like, it was completely different. And everyone who worked for themselves, like, they were driven and motivated because it was their business essentially just running out of our location. So very long story the way that I just explained that. It kind of went quickly. But so come February 1st is when I ended up taking over. And so at the time it was February, and then in March, I think, is when everything shut down for COVID. So that was I was like, oh, okay, good. So I was glad that I had another business and income, but we ended up, calling people. We're doing videos, giveaways, things, getting creative to try to keep some revenue coming in. So I thought, what, if we can get through that, being a brand new business and shut down for 6 weeks, like, we can do whatever we want, whatever we put our mind to.
Yeah.
So Caitlin, who was my business partner with Glow, we had hired her right before COVID and everything shut down. And she had worked at a med spa in Richmond. She had been an esthetician for about 10 years. And her husband had moved here. And so we ended up putting an ad out that we were looking for an esthetician. And she had answered. And I was like, she's really overqualified. Like, she's operated lasers. And I was worried. I'm like, we're got to keep her booked. Is it going to be busy enough? But she was great. I mean, people loved her. And so it really inspired me. I was like, I really want to get in that treatment room. Like, anything that I've ever done, I want to have my hands in it. I don't want to just be like, oh, she could do that for you. Like, I want to be able to do it. If she's not there today, someone needs to do it, right?
Right.
I was like, I think I really want to go back to school and learn this, and also, take it a step further. So a lot of people, come in for a facial and they're like, what do you want to address? I want to address, sunspots, get rid of a sunspot with a facial. So we were referring them out to another med spa locally, and, people would be like, but I just want to deal with you guys. Like, I know you. And so I was like, you know what? Like, we could do this. Like, I have faith that we could do this. So we got to talking about it, and she had the background of knowing how to, do med spa related things. And I had the business sense. And so, it really worked well because I learned a lot from her and she learned a lot from me. So we still kind of have our roles. I think definitely I geek out over the numbers and the goal setting and did we hit this and revenue streams and those types of things. And she's knows so much about skin. Went back to school, did my esthetician license while we started the med spa. We had to get, medical director. There's all these things. And you're like, oh gosh, where are we going to start? I remember having our first meeting with a laser company, and he's saying words the skin vaporizes and, the hemoglobin levels. And I was like, I don't even know what this guy's talking about. And I'm sitting here looking at buying a piece of equipment that I don't even understand what the heck it does, So it was, we've made some mistakes. We went the cheaper route on certain things. And then, because that's where you have to start, we had nothing coming into this, we didn't want to risk, our homes on this business, So we're like, we'll start slow. We had one little room at Royal Norman that we started in, because we had a hairdresser that rented the room out. And that's where we decided, we need to make this room make some revenue. It shouldn't be a storage room. So we're like, let's open this up to, this will be our little glow room. We got our first laser, our first hydrofacial, and we worked just off of those 2 machines. And I remember, I'll never forget, we had our first open house in October. All these people showed up, and we were just we didn't know what to expect. We were like, is anyone going to show? And people were just we had packages set up, and people were just buying this, spending money like it was nothing. And I was like, is this for real? These people really and I was like, I came to find out women really we have so many insecurities, right? And when you want to fix something or get something to look better, you will go and you'll do what you want to do. We really try to work with people because we know they're expensive treatments. And unfortunately, the costs associated with these treatments are high. And that's why, we have to charge what we have to charge. But we're never going to, suggest something to someone that we don't think is actually what they need. We wanted to create a space where people came in and they felt good about themselves. They didn't feel intimidated. I get a lot of feedback from oh, I've been to, this place before and this is how I felt, or I just felt like they wanted to sell me everything and it's maybe not what I needed. And so, consultations process, all of that is so imperative. I'm looking at a new piece of equipment, they'll start giving me okay, this is your ROI. This is this. And I'm just I'm in my head going, okay, this person could use this person I could do this. Like, I'm thinking of all the things that like I haven't been able to tackle with what we currently have and how I can help them with the other thing.
Yeah.
Just because that's what motivates me, is seeing those results and seeing people come in and be like, I've never felt like this good about myself.
Yeah.
And that's what's just like, okay, this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm doing.
So you started with a little glow room.
Yep.
And then you guys moved locations last year?
Last year,
Last
yeah.
year. And so how many rooms do you have
4.
on the glow side?
We have 4 and we're like busting at the seams. Yeah. So we thought we did like such an awesome job, right? And now we're like, okay, we should have done this differently, you know?
Yeah.
Or we could use this space. And then,
Hindsight,
yeah. And now people are like, okay, when are you going to get a sauna? When are you going to get a steam room? And I'm like, if the next place next door goes down, then we can knock the wall down. But I'm like, we want to do all the things.
Yeah.
But we've learned, you know, when we first started with Glow, we had looked at a separate space for Glow and it didn't feel right. Like you know, you get that nagging feeling in your gut. And I'm like, it's just, I'm overwhelmed. It's scaring me. Like, I've never been a huge risk taker. Like,
really?
You would think I have.
know.
PJ, on the other hand, was a totally different story. But I've learned to be better about it. Like, he'll tell you, I would always be the one that, you're being negative. I'm like, no, I'm just, you know,
Trying to be real.
correct. Like, I didn't grow up with, like, you know, money just to spare, you know? It's like, I've worked for everything I've ever had. And so I'm like, if I mess up, it's on me, right? So, and it's the best thing, I think, decision we could have made is just starting there because we were able to see how it went, you know? And I think Winchester needed it. I think we needed it.
So before you were Glow Amy, you were Insurance Amy. Do you
was.
still have the insurance?
Yes.
There?
Yeah, I was the insurance gal, was my license plate. Yeah, Ins gal. People be like, who's Ins gal? And some people got it, but whatever. But yeah, I was a senior in high school, and my husband and I, we were high school sweethearts. And my father-in-law, well, he was my boyfriend's dad. Sorry.
Really weird.
Right, totally. They were looking for a secretary for like after school. I was like, okay, and I co-op, so it worked out. Yep, so I did that, and you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I was answering phones, filing paperwork, and then, you know, you're around it enough and you hear it enough, and so, you know, I was like, the next step is to get your license. Like, you could only answer so many questions and things like that. And so I started like doing my studying for that and got my insurance license when I was 18. And then it was kind of like, this is what I'm going to do, you know? So during college, I worked there. I just did my associates because I was like, you know what? School wasn't really ever for me. Like, and even studying for my insurance license, it was like a necessity. I didn't want to. Like, aesthetic school was like, I could have kept staying in it. I loved it. Yeah. And that's what goes to show you like what your passion is, I think, too. Like when you're like studying it because you have to versus like I study stuff for fun now. And I was never like a studier or reader. But so I did that. And then I worked for my father-in-law for 10 years doing insurance. And then we ended up going, I was looking, they were doing like a program agency who hit certain objectives to take over a book of business of an agent that was retiring. So I ended up, there was an agent that was retiring in Winchester. I finished my program, took over his book of business. And then in 2014 is when PJ and we opened Homestead Insurance Group. From 2014 to 2020, we had kind of gotten established at that point. I was very much involved, like there every single day, like selling the policies, doing all of the admin stuff. So for me to like kind of step away it took a little bit of time. Luckily, I called in Daddy Dearest and did my dad, I need you. You know, the typical phone call you make whenever I need something is Dad, help. And because he had always done like the books for the firehouse. So I was like, would you have an interest in like helping with the bookkeeping side of things? So now he does like all of my businesses, which is great. But I had to really learn how to like not be so like involved because I had a really
a little bit.
Yes. And I'm very, very much not like that. It's definitely a control issue I'm working through. But
that's nice that like your dad can be the one because I feel like
you trust a little.
1000%.
And yeah, you know he's got your back.
Absolutely. And you see so many things happen where people, when they're out of touch with the bills and the bookkeeping, like that bad things really happen because they're not paying attention. They're too involved in the other things. Yeah. And then I have a great group of girls that work at the insurance office that like, they're my savior and all of the, like for me to be able to go do these other things, like they had been with me from the very beginning of starting my own agency. And so I just really like am so blessed to have them. Like they're the ones that like sometimes I'll go back and I'm like, I just want to crawl back in my little office, close my door, like because with insurance, like I felt like I was good at it, I knew it, and then going into something new, I was like the new one again. And so it took me a long time to get like that respect. It's a man's world with insurance, and like when I worked for my father-in-law, it was like, oh, she's just your front desk girl. She knows nothing. And then once they started like talking to me and I got licensed and new stuff, then like, they're like, oh, she wants to see Amy. And I'm like, oh, I like this. And I'm like, but it really was working with people in that industry that like, no one wants to pay insurance. Like that's not sexy. Right. And so they want to do these types of things. And so, it's a total different world. And I'm obsessed with it.
Keep your insurance license.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
All that. You're still like,
yeah, so I own it still. PJ does a lot of the more like the commercial stuff. He has other businesses too. So like insurance, though it wasn't like always my passion, I am very grateful for it because it really gave me that flexibility to do other things now and still have that as a business. Yeah. So a lot of agents I would see over the years, like when we go to these conferences, they're like playing golf all the time. And I'm like, how do you do that? Well, they didn't start that way, And so I'm not out playing golf. Like, I don't even know how to play golf.
But other businesses.
Right. I'm pursuing other things. And
that's like a true testament to like sometimes you have to really put in the hard work.
Yeah,
and then
the sacrifice.
1,000%.
Yeah. Like so many people now, it's like, oh, follow your dreams, do what makes you happy.
Right.
Like, but it's important, I feel like, to have like that security and like, especially when you are building a family and stuff, and then set yourself up later then.
It's also like from like outside view for other people, it can look like, oh, she's got it so easy. Oh,
they're living the life.
They're just living the life, right? But they don't see like the behind the scenes, like the hours and
Well, I'm running a business. I mean, okay, run us through what all you guys are involved in.
Oh, so we have Homestead Insurance Group, it's our insurance agency. Merle Norman, which is the cosmetic side of things. Glow, which is our med spa, and then my husband has Collectible Kings, like a sports card shop, and Duck Donuts.
And he just franchised Collectible Kings, right?
So it's not a franchise yet. He just opened a second location.
Okay.
Yeah. He'll start his day like at the insurance office early in the morning, then he'll stop by Duck, then he goes to the card shop. Like cards are his passion, like the collectibles are his passion. My passion is like the skin,
It's really neat though. And just show like, I think some people think like I have to start and doing what I love right away and it's too late to change.
Yes.
After a certain point. And I love that you guys just keep.
People put so much pressure, I think, on themselves, especially like right out of school, like especially if they went and got a degree in something, like, oh, I got to find something in that. Like, I think that I don't think it's ever too late to do what you want to do. And I, honestly, looking back, as much as I would say, oh, insurance wasn't my passion, it was something that like I learned so much. Yeah. And as far as business is concerned, running like so much. I mean, just about life, all the things that you have to take into consideration.
All like the adult stuff that you need to know.
Like buying your first house. Like people don't know all the steps you need to take with, how the mortgage process works, how, and I learned a lot of that just with doing their insurance policies, so life insurance, learning about their assets or liability, like all the things that, how much do they really need to, like, I would not have known that stuff, and a lot of people don't. And if I didn't do it every day, I would have no clue. Yeah. So I really do think that like, I trust that, God has a plan for me. And like, I had to go through these different things that was what I was going to like get to the end of where like I was really meant to be. And like, but I needed to learn these things. A lot of people think that opening a business is, oh, well, I know about skin or I know about this. And I look at so many like doctor's offices and dentists like that I've talked to, and they're just like, they don't teach you that business side in school. And so it's the learning process of hiring people, and it's a lot.
Yeah. And did you and PJ ever see yourselves like owning so many businesses?
No. Okay. And there's times that I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, because every time you get a little, like you get things kind of calm. Like last year was crazy. We opened Duck, and which I wasn't a part of really having to do much with Duck. I mean, I'm the, cheerleader, whatever you need me to do, I'll come help. Opening day, I remember I was like, I'll come greet people, restock napkins. The next thing I know, I'm making icing and I know nothing. I'm like reading in recipe cards. I have no clue how to make this icing. But it was just like madness. But yeah, like it's definitely, you get kind of to a comfort level and you're like, okay, everything's running smoothly. And then it's like, okay, let's do something else. And to have a plan. I like to do things. Like I like to see something fully be executed and go through. So for right now, no, I don't want any more businesses. I would like to, eventually expand Glow to have more.
That was my next question. Like,
Yeah.
what do you see next for Glow?
I would love to have it, where we have more services that we can do. I don't want to be the Cheesecake Factory med spas. I don't want to have 1,000 things. Like anything that we do or bring on, like I want to master it before we bring on something else. So, you can have a gazillion things just to say you have them, but then it's like, are you really that great at all of them? Probably not. So kind of having more of like incorporating the day spa side as things, because that's a big thing that we get a lot. People say, I'm like, I wish I had a place you could just go for the day. And, that would be a dream. Like, like we even have someone in there like having something for lunch, things like that. Like that's way far down the road. But I say that, but then maybe in a few years we'll be changing our mind. But yeah, we definitely want to expand. Yeah. I don't want it to get though to a point where it's like, I don't know my clients, because I feel like you can go.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like it's like very community in there. Like even like,
you're like I'm living flyer.
There. I feel like I'm a frequent flyer, but I think for like the last 6 months or so, I've got a membership and I've started coming at least once a month. And like, is it Emily?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's like, hi, Brittany. And I'm like, oh, they know me. Like Jason has his thing. He like loves going to Jiffy Sandwich Shop. Which is like a small.
Oh, I love Jiffy.
Yeah. And he's like, they know my name.
Right. And that makes such a difference.
And I'm like, they know my name. Like, hello.
They do. And Emily's excellent for that. Like
she's just like, you see her face and you're just like, oh.
You just want to smile. Yeah. She's very welcoming. Like, and she gets really excited about things. And when people like first start, like, when she first started there, like she would squeal sometimes, like the skincare would come in, for example. Like she's like, hi. And like everyone's like, now they don't even like flinch because they're like, oh, we just got to deliver, or whatever it is. But yeah, she's very she gets very excited and she really cares so much about this business. Like it's crazy how she even got to work for us. But it was kind of a fluke. She came in with someone who was getting a treatment done as their friend because they never had Botox. And like I heard her talking to them about skincare and I'm like, this girl really knows what she's talking about. I was like, you want a job here? And I said it kind of like jokingly, but she's like, I'd love to work here. And I was like, no, seriously, like we're looking for someone. Like we need someone for the front desk. And, she was like, well, I've worked at Olive Garden for 9 years. I just finished my business degree. And she's like, I don't jump around much. And like, yeah, you got a business degree and you're working at Olive Garden. Like must be really like a loyal. Yeah. And like, I love that. I don't like seeing resumes where it's like every 3 months they're moving and it's always somebody else's problem, Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? She's like, I love skin. Like, and she is like, she loves the science. Like I go to her a lot of times. I'm like, what do you recommend for this product? Should I put her on this one? And she loves that. Like she loves to feel like needed like that. And that's been an awesome blessing for me. Like
I've come in there before with like no makeup on and I'm like, she sees faces all day, And one day, like recently I went in, I had like no makeup and I'm like, oh, I look horrible. I have like this breakout here. But like, she was like, oh my gosh, you've made so much progress. Your skin is looking great. And I was like, it is. But I know it is. But like when like usually I wear makeup and like, I'm like, oh yes, my skin's looking so much better.
Yes.
But like for her to notice that.
Absolutely. And she won't just like say that to like,
right. Like I could tell she was like genuine. She's like, your progress is amazing. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah. She's like everyone's cheerleader.
Yeah.
We laugh because I think all of us except for Caitlin and there have been cheerleaders at one point in our life.
Oh,
and so, so I was like, we're all like cheerleaders for each other. But yeah, I'm very blessed. We have an amazing team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go into a little detail about like the things you do offer.
Sure. So we have our regular facials, hydrofacials. That's probably our number one treatment. I'd say that's what we started with. And like, that's still, everyone loves a hydrofacial. For those who don't know what that is, it's a mechanical handpiece we use to do the facial. So it like deeply cleanses the skin, exfoliates the skin, does extractions, infuses serums. You leave with your skin's just glowing and it just feels so clean. Brittany's had them.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Have you had that? Or you did the hair?
No, I did a hydrofacial with Caitlin.
Okay.
You're going to have to go.
Yeah. And then I did do the keratin treatment with you.
Eve. Yes. I've got a hairstyle.
I told you I'm illiterate.
Brittany, we're going to have to get you on board, honey.
I know. I need to like Yeah, prioritize.
Not all of us
more.
are blessed with good skin, you know. So
I don't know. I said I looked in the mirror with no makeup and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting old. Like I gotta start taking better care of myself.
you wake up one day and it's just like, oh, where'd that sunspot come from? Where'd that wrinkle come from?
I really feel like you hit this age, and it's funny. So you know how like people come up with like a word of the year?
Mm-hmm.
So I've never done that, but me and Jason like made a joke because recently, like within the last year or so, we've really like changed from like even like little things like, you know what, I'm not gonna buy like 1 million cheap socks anymore.
Right.
I'm gonna buy like 5 pairs of luxurious socks.
There you go.
Because it's the same price.
Yeah.
Then all my little junk
And they last.
and they last. So for Christmas, like that was our theme. Like we got the nicest sheets and the nicest comforter. And I'm like, who knew?
Right?
Like who knew life could be this luxurious? And now we threw away all of our cheap sheets that we were buying like sheets all the time.
What are you all doing to your sheets? Like, there's so many.
This was weird. No, like we wash them a lot. Like you wash them. You're supposed to wash your sheets like every 2 weeks at minimum. And our washing machine, our water's hard. They just get even our kids' sheets. I'm like, but anyways, that got weird. But like, I was just giving an example. I was just giving an example. They feel so smooth, and like our other sheets were like rough. I'm like,
it's the best feeling when you get into like clean sheets.
Oh yeah.
With fresh shaved legs, and like
clean face
and a soft set of sheets.
Yeah,
right out the shower.
Yeah. So like another thing is like I got my membership to get my monthly hydrofacials, which sounds super bougie, but like I'm also not going to Target and buying like $100 worth of like crappy skincare every 2 weeks.
Right.
Now that I'm sure there's great skincare at Target, but like I wasn't buying anything that like made sense probably before. So we're calling it. We've been saying Renaissance.
Renaissance or something.
Renaissance.
I got that one was
I think, what's it mean? I don't even know. But like we've just like making this whole joke about Renaissance. Like I started getting like
It's like in the middle of your vision board.
Renaissance.
songs. Yeah, we
What's next?
Yes, we like stopped eating. We aren't getting like food from McDonald's because we started like really. We just every time we turned around, we're like on the run. So we were like Renaissance, and like we ordered groceries, and we're doing all the typical
prepping.
January things. Yeah,
Right.
but we are really committed to doing it all year because it is Renaissance.
I love
don't know
that.
what that means, but we say Renaissance like at least twice a day.
That's really good for you. I'm glad.
What is the Renaissance? Like, okay.
Just like a
I'm gonna look at the meaning.
revolution.
Yeah, like to make
kind of
new-
thing. Yeah.
I'll
got
look up
it.
the actual definition.
I mean,
We're really weird.
I'm impressed.
I did want to ask you.
Yeah.
On the Botox.
Oh yeah, I didn't
After
finish
watching
telling you
your
what stuff we do.
I know. We got on our
classical learning and
Brittany got on our Renaissance.
sorry, but I was just saying, like, treat yourself.
Yeah.
Like, instead of like going to Target and trying all these random different guys, instead like take like.
Well, there's such an emphasis on self-care now.
Yeah,
Yes.
So
but it's like you don't know where to start. So
Yeah,
you're just
it
like
can
I'm
be
putting all the
overwhelming.
masks on my hands and my feet, and like all the things that I'm like, what am I doing to myself?
Start with
Yeah.
someone who knows, like, good trusted professionals.
Right,
You know,
yes,
we can
yes,
help
like,
you.
and I
Please.
Please call me.
and I think most, a lot, especially like
Please don't put toothpaste on your face.
Please don't do that anymore. Please don't.
I think like a lot of moms, especially like in this phase of life, it's like, well, we can't afford that. Like we have diapers,
Yeah.
we have this, we have this. But it's like, well, start small first of all, and then also like look at what
Look what you are spending.
look at that Target
Yeah.
brand where like you did self-care, but really you just bought like a bunch of things from the $5 section and random stuff that made you feel good in the
Right.
moment, but really it's gonna make you feel worse later because you're like hoarding Target things. And I'm speaking from me.
Yeah. Well, look how much we spend a day, like, on Starbucks. I mean, I'm so guilty of it. Like,
Yeah.
that's maybe make your coffee at home and put it towards your skincare.
Yeah.
You know?
And what I've learned about like really good skincare is it actually lasts longer.
It does.
I'm like amazed. I got stuff from you like a while ago, and I'm still like, when is this bottle gonna be out? Like, I do have to get something that I did run out of, but it lasts forever. So just sorry.
Back to my
Botox.
question.
Yes.
Botox.
Yeah.
So we've all watched Secret Wives.
Mhm.
Secret Lives.
Mhm.
Secret Wives. And we had Stephanie on here. She made
Lives
an appearance.
Mhm.
When are y'all getting laughing gas for Botox? Because I think that's the only way.
You
I
really
could-
think so?
I don't know.
So, okay,
I'm not a
Botox
needle gal.
It's really not bad. Like, Botox is easy. Like, of all the things I've done, that's probably the easiest.
Do you like keep your eyes closed?
Oh, yeah.
You don't see it?
I'm not going to lie. The first time I had Botox, I did almost pass out. It was before we had our med spa, before I even was in this industry. Like, I was like 30, was that 36? I don't even know. It was when the lines were really getting out of control. My makeup was settling and I was like, I got to do something. So the very first time I had it, I remember like I'm in there and like they handed me an ice roller and I'm like going to town on that thing. I don't know what I thought it was going to do. We don't even offer him at our place because I'm like, it surely doesn't do anything. But he comes in and does it and he's talking to me and I go out front and I'm like getting checked out and, you know, the Charlie Brown voices are starting and everything's starting to turn black. It's like, you know, I'm like, something's not right here. And she's like, I think you need to sit down for a second. And I went in without eating before. And so like had a Coke. We keep Cokes at work just because of that. Cause like it happens sometimes. People just get funny, you know, and they just know that's me. Like, so just be prepared. Like it can happen, but it wasn't, I think I just psyched myself up. Now it's more so like, it's just a necessity, you know, like every 3 or 4 months I'm doing it and it's just like a quick thing. It's not something you need laughing gas for.
Do you get like multiple in at a time?
Yes.
Or just one?
Oh, no.
At a time?
You do multiple, like at the same time,
like pokes.
boom?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, one. I'm sorry. I thought you meant like, is it just one area you
I'm
shoot out?
picturing like, what is that therapy where they stick the
Yeah, acupuncture.
Acupuncture. Yeah, it's super easy. Like so, like for example, say you're 11s, like your glabella. Yeah, that angry face. I can't make it right now because I'm like really set in.
Face literally looks angry all the time. I'm constantly doing this.
And it's that like, what the heck face or like I'm concentrating face or I'm angry, whatever it is. I'm raising the brows. I'm constantly like tapping on my kids' foreheads. I'm like, stop doing that face. Like, you're doing that. And they look at me like I'm a lunatic. But so like, say you're doing like the 11s, you're treating that, you know, so you're hitting certain areas. Like I'm not an injector, so I'm probably really not explaining this very well. But so like, let's say for example, like that area, you're going to probably get like four pokes. And depending on how many units you're getting like for a certain area. So I'm not even going to say how many units that I get probably all over because I'll do like the forehead, the crow's feet. I'll do like the DAOs.
I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, just.
But yeah, it's because it's really set in really well. We're about 2 weeks in. So yeah, or maybe 3 weeks in since my last treatment. So
how often do you have to get it?
It depends on the person. Like these younger girls, like Secret Life, some of my wives, you're probably talking about, like, you're like, they're young. They don't need that. It's honestly like a really good thing when people are doing it younger now because you don't need it as often. Okay. And you're not getting those static lines as much. So like if you think of how many years we're doing that same expression, those lines are a lot deeper. It's going to take more treatments to get that, you know, smoothed out because essentially it's just like paralyzing the muscle. Sounds really scary, but you know, it's definitely something that like not every 20-something is going to be able to afford it either. But you might need like 12 units opposed to like 40 to 50 units as you get older. But it's definitely, what was your original question? I'm sorry.
How often?
How often? Thank you. 3 to 4 months is typically, I'm a solid 3-month girl. Now, some would be like, I can see movement. It's not like I'm seeing the lines again. I just have movement. And when I can move it, it's like, so I have a friend, she's always like, Amy, do this. And she'll raise her brows. And I'm like, you know, I can. But it's just one of those things that, you know, you get used to it. The first time I had it, I like kind of felt like I had a rubber band on my forehead, like, and I was trying to move it. So when people are like, well, I'll get it, I got a headache from it. Or it's because you're forcing something that like has been a habit for so long that you can't do. Yeah. Now it's no big deal. So, but yeah, it's something that I don't think laughing gas is something that like, it's not that level. Yeah. There are some treatments I think that like laughing gas would probably be ideal for some people. But, you know, we've talked about that, you know, adding.
Yeah, like regulatory, like could you even have?
But as long as we could have, I think it's called Pronox with probably our PA present. Yeah. Yeah. But that, you know, there's certain things like when they're injecting, like say they're doing filler in an area that's, they can do like a nerve block or dental block, you know, that you don't feel it in as much. Because some people just are really uncomfortable and other people.
That's like mom. We went to the drip bar to get a B12 shot. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Yeah. I gave it to her, I think, for her birthday because she was just like, I just have no energy. And
but she was also like terrified to go to the gym.
She was terrified. So
she's not a needle person.
So I signed up to get one too, just for like emotional support. And she was like, oh my God, it's like, I don't know. It's like a chemo room in here. I don't know. I'm like, Mom, you're obviously like, you're okay. You're just getting jolted with some vitamins. Like
I'm like, take your phone, take some headphones.
Low need a coat because she maybe some
works herself up. The first time I gave her a hydrofacial,
Yeah.
she asked if there was needles involved. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
She's like, "You're not going to put any needles in me, are you?" And I'm like, "No.
Yeah.
This is just
She saw my. What did we do last time?
the BBL and Moxie."
Yeah, when she saw my face after that, she was like, "Are you okay?" But I was like, "Yeah, it actually feels really good."
Yeah.
And like the next week when it started healing, she was
Yeah, it definitely does. That's back to like, I guess, the treatment question. I guess you asked what we do. So Botox obviously is one of the things.
Yeah.
Botox and Dysport are two neurotoxins that we use. So a lot of people will say, do you guys do, everyone calls it Botox, right? But it's essentially a neurotoxin. Botox is the brand. So we do injectables, fillers. Microneedling is a really popular one. We do one called Skin Pin. That's more of like superficial microneedling. It's great for acne scarring. Younger people who maybe don't want to do collagen treatment or collagen stimulation, but they don't need the tightening as much. We do microneedling with radio frequency, which is a collagen induction therapy and puts heat into the skin, which helps with tightening the skin. We do BBL, which is broadband light. That is going to target the reds and the browns in the skin. So sunspots, sun damage, pigmentation, freckles. Rosacea is a really big one that a lot of people struggle with. Targets that. The Moxie laser resurfacing, which is what we've been doing on Brittany, the BBL Moxie combo. That's a great collagen stimulation. It's great for scarring, pigmentation, just an overall like really nice, like making the skin look really nice and bright. Let's see what else.
Sorry about the first time you said BBL, I thought you were talking about like the butt lift.
I know.
And
Everyone always
isn't
does.
that's what it's called, right?
Brazilian butt lift. Yeah, BBL.
And I was like, y'all do that too?
I know, right? Someone called the other day and asked if we did the liquid BBL, and Shannon, one of the girls who works with, she's like, there's no liquid involved. I was like, they're talking about like with Sculptra where it's a Brazilian butt lift. She's like, because I'm always thinking BBL now. Like I'm thinking the real way here.
It's funny.
But yeah, broadband light is what that stands for. BBL. Like,
You're like, you got that? I was like, I mean, I could use a little lip.
we all say it like just like it's nothing now.
Yeah.
But like, those who don't know that world, they're like, what is BBL? But yeah, and then we do like our like lash lift intense, brow sculpting, waxing, those types of things, hair removal, acne treatments with our BBL. It's called Forever Clear. And I feel like I'm missing something, but chemical peels, Sculptra, which is a really good like way to help with like a long-term result type of injectable. It helps with like
Is there like
I'm like sitting here like rolling my double chin like
Kybella. We do Kybella.
Okay, I was like, what is that? What is that?
So Kybella kills the fat cells. So it's injected. It can't be like someone who's got like just like laxity. It's got to be like it's truly fat cells, right? And so I've done one round of it. I need to probably do another. But what it does is they inject it. I mean, it doesn't feel great when it's happening, but about 20 minutes later, the burning kind of stops. And then you kind of go through a little swollen stage where it's like don't do it like if you have an event coming up or something. But now's a great time because you can wear turtlenecks and hardly even tell, but just swollen for a week or two, and then it starts to get like it kills it. So
Did you inject it like anywhere?
Injectors did do her arms for her wedding. Yeah,
that's funny. I thought I really thought you were being funny, but
I
mean, I was kind of. But
I mean, it's indicated for that area, but like every once in a while they get the approval for FDA approved for certain areas. So,
what do you think? I'm going to call it Botox. I know you said
yeah, I know what you're saying.
What do you think are like the biggest misconceptions of Botox? Because I feel like it's become very normalized.
Sure.
But I remember like as a kid, you'd hear like, oh, wow, like Botox was such a big deal, I think.
Yeah. It is a toxin. I mean, it's in the name, neurotoxin, right? So there are, just like anything, there's side effects with it, that can happen. And you might be that rare person that has that type of reaction. So I think it's, a lot of people get nervous about it when they read all the side effects. If you would read all the side effects of any drug you're taking, like you probably would never take it either, but it's one of those things that I think that people think they look at, say like Joan Rivers, for example, they're like, I don't want to look like that. And frozen, like that's a lot of plastic surgery, like same thing I feel like with lip fillers. People think like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have those big duck lips. People who have that, like they've got several syringes and filler in their lips. So I think that that's a big misconception that you can be frozen or you cannot be frozen. Like, like I like to be frozen. Some people are like, I don't want people to really tell, but I want to smooth things out. They can adjust the dosage for how much you get.
Well,
So
I think that's maybe like where the misconception is. I feel like picture the people who are like very frozen and
Right.
have had a lot more than maybe just Botox.
absolutely.
Whereas like I'm looking at you and your face looks like very natural. Like I don't know that you can. I don't.
Like I wouldn't be like, oh, she's but
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe when I try to raise my brows.
Well, yeah.
See, I don't even think I'd notice. Like, oh, she can't. You know, like.
Yeah. The thing is, a couple of things with Botox is that you got to look at it like it's a prescription. If a doctor prescribes you a certain, dosage of medication, you're going to take what that doctor is prescribing you because that's what you need for what you have going on, right? So a lot of times if they come in and say, well, I have, $150 or whatever it is to spend on Botox, like I cringe at that because I know they're not going to get the result they want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, look, like doing a consultation, like tell the person, like, or they'll tell you what exactly they're looking to achieve, and then saying, okay, this is what the dosage would be to get those results. That's where you need to kind of be with it. So, our injectors have got a lot more confident in saying, like, maybe wait until you can afford it because you're not going to be happy. You're not going to get the result you want. But on the flip side, if someone says, I still want movement, but I just want to smooth this out a little bit, or I don't really care about, the crow's feet, they're not bothering me, but the forehead lines or the glabella, whatever it is. The glabella is your little 11s. Those things, they will just target those types of things. So, and the first time you ever have it, you're usually going to always want to do a follow-up 2 weeks later because it takes up to 14 days to have the full effect. So sometimes people will be like, oh, I don't feel like this is working, or, they call us 4 days later. I'm like, you got to give it the full 2 weeks and then they can re-inject to do anything, to touch it up. So we always reschedule like a 2-week follow-up because especially with your first one, it's kind of playing around with it. It's kind of like coming up with a skincare regimen. Maybe the first product we offer or advise for you to try isn't what works. So it's just kind of one of those things. They kind of come back in. Are you happy with where it's at? Or do we need to do a touch up there or there? Until you've kind of gotten to be a regular, then they're going to know.
Do you recommend that anyone that comes in for any treatment have a consult? Or
Yes.
Okay, so like even for like a facial?
Facial's not really, because we do an intake form and there's certain things that, if people have certain allergies, that's all going to be in your intake form. When you have a procedure, you're looking at doing like microneedling, for example, or broadband light or lasers, like not everyone is a candidate. So there's certain factors, like if you have an autoimmune, like you might have an autoimmune such as like psoriasis, like that's not going to mean you can't have this treatment. But there are certain ones that like you want to steer clear from because their healing time is not going to be as good, or, they're maybe not going to have the same results, or it's a contraindication. So a lot of like pregnant women or ones that are breastfeeding, like you really can only do facials on them and using like a safe, like our line that we use is safe on pregnant, just because you never know, like if they don't even know they're pregnant at the time. So yeah, definitely consultation first. It helps us to kind of come up with a game plan for sure. Because a lot of times if someone comes in and like you just have them down for a treatment and then they can't get it, they're upset, or they don't know what the pricing is and you've blocked a 2-hour time block,
right.
So we always do a consult, even for hair removal, just because, like, for example, certain skin types, like darker skin, can't handle certain kinds of light. Like with our broadband light, you can't do a darker Fitzpatrick. I don't know if you know what Fitzpatrick is, but I'll educate you. Fitzpatrick typing is like our skin color of our skin. So,
Okay.
like, for example, someone with red hair, light eyes, very pale skin, that's going to be a 1.
Yeah.
And like African American will be your 6. So in between there is like, so we'll ask a lot of questions like, how does your skin react to the sun? Your background, because you might like look at someone like they're really fair, but in their, background, they've got, ABCD, and that means that they could easily tan. So all of those things we have to look at. So you would want to make sure that like they're a candidate for that specific treatment. And then also just kind of having a game plan. And I like to get them prepared, like prepping the skin before treatments, like having a regimen that they're starting, because it's only going to make their treatments better at the end result. And then also, expectations of like what they can expect, the side effects, downtime, all of those things. So definitely consultation. Facials, not so much, or hydrofacials even. You don't really need to. But if you're just like, I don't even know where to start, I have a lot of those. great. Some people come in, they're like, I want this, this, this. And then you're like, okay, I would agree with you on that,
Yeah.
So one question we got was serum. Morning.
Let's be honest. It was from her mom. And she was calling it serum.
I love her.
Like,
how long? Yeah. So serum. Do we do it in the morning? Do we do it in the night? Serum is so confusing. How?
Direct quote.
And then how long do I wait to put on my moisturizer after I put serum on?
And or my makeup.
Or my makeup if it's morning.
Okay, guys, you're going to have to tune back in for part 2 to get the answer about serum because let's be honest, I think we all have questions about the order of our skincare products. But anyways, thanks for joining. We'll be back with part 2 soon. In part 2, we'll go into more about how Amy balances motherhood and business and all the things. It's a really good part, so make sure you come back. Have a great day, and we will talk to you later. This episode was brought to you by White House Foods.